dinner plate here with a rim and it has a deeper well than the luncheon plate did, this might be a really great pasta plate. So even though you're using the same amount of clay each time, there's going to be subtle differences, and you need to examine your pieces and say, why do you like one over the other? And then deliberately make that plate the next time. So for me, because I do like to have a lot of pastas and salads, this plate out of my series might be a better plate for my family and I can't wait to try it out and use it, and if it works, then deliberately make more like this plate. Oopsies. Let's make sure that we measure our foot. Okay. A lot of times bats in here say warped, but they're not warped, so just try it out for yourself. A lot of times bats can warp if they are not laid down after they've been used. Laid flat. So make sure that after you're done using a bat and you wipe it off, that you go ahead and put it back on the bat cart, laying it flat. Okay, so once your plate is centered, grab your bigger trim tool. Let's go ahead and get an idea about where our foot's going to be. So a lot of times when you have a lot of clay to trim off, instead of just going and pushing down on the top of the piece, come at it from the side and move in. Doing that, I'm automatically starting to leave a little bit of clay that is to account for where the well is beginning to curve. So I'm starting to just kind of be conscious of that the inside of the plate dips down a little bit before it goes flat where this foot is. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of clay there to support that inside shape, to mimic that inside shape. I love when trimmings do this. It's so neat. It's the perfect consistency for trimming right now, when you get these really long trimmings. Now I'm going to trim this foot to match the other plates that I made in the series, so it's going to be a straight foot, but then you have to angle it in a little bit. So I'm just turning my tool. Okay. I do want to clean up where the curve then meets the rim and the rim starts to flare. Trim my plates all the way down to the rim. You shouldn't have to do that. Your rim should be perfect when you take it off of the wheel. Okay, let's go ahead and make a line that's going to go ahead and mark where we're going to have our foot ring, and now we're gonna go ahead and leave a high spot, and then we're gonna clean out all of that in between the high spot and your foot ring. Remember, the groove is not very deep, because if you go too deep, it's hard to clean that out. You'll get a thin spot, and you might even have groove marks that you can't erase. So make sure every time you make a groove pass, then you lay your tool flat and you go back over it. A right angle tool like this one will give you a really deep, sharp groove versus one of your tools that has a loop on it. These grooves are a lot more subtle. Notice I don't go back and forth, okay? We only go in one direction. We start in the middle and we work our way out. If we started on the outside and worked our way in, a lot of those trimmings might build up and it'll cause problems. We won't be able to see what we're doing. They'll get caught up in your tool and it might end up bouncing your hand around and you could create damage. Okay, let's go ahead and press. I do see a little bit of a bounce, so I'm really close. Now I'm going to go ahead and work this high spot that I made and make it just a lot smaller. I just want a little bit of a tip of a mountain. Okay. So I'm trimming it down and then feathering it in, so to speak. Just kind of getting softer with my touch as to blend it in. Just using the tip of my tool and going down and then moving my tool flat and going out. If you have trimmings that stick, just trim them off. If you try to peel them off with your finger, you may end up smoothing it into the plate and it's harder to get rid of it. That's another reason why we don't want to use a lot of water when we're trimming. You just want to catch at the perfect time, leather hard, and it's really easy to trim. Okay, so now I just want to go back and make this foot ring just a little bit smaller, a little more narrow. Angle on the outside, angle on the inside. So you have less surface area touching and less drag across a kiln shell for the any surface that the plate is drying. Great. Sometimes if you have a little bit of a nick on the other side, you can take your trim tool and just gently hold it and it'll trim that out, or if you have a little piece of clay stuck, you can just trim it out like that. After you do that, you always want to smooth